Question: were there any pictures that you thought I took that were in actuality sourced from news media? Were there any pictures that you thought were fake but were in actuality sourced from news media? I must ask this last question again because it is the most critical question thus far. Were there any pictures that you thought were fake but were in actuality sourced from news media? Most of you will answer yes. Most of you have to admit that there were media-sourced pictures that you thought were fake. Isn't that interesting? And doesn't this shed light on the reality that news media often presents to us pictures and imagery that we believe to be true until we take the adequate time necessary to accurately analyze the pictures and imagery for ourselves? And when we do take the time to analyze the pictures and imagery, we begin to question the legitimacy of the pictures and imagery. Now that we think we know which pictures are real and fake, I will go through each picture and share my own insights. Picture number 1. This picture appears to have been taken underwater. The picture is extremely grainy, and there seems to be extreme pixel degradation in this area. What appears to be oil is billowing out from an underwater pipe. Some of the oil is brown in color. Some of the oil is yellow in color. Question: why would such a poor quality image be distributed by media? And wouldn't it be prudent to question the validity of such a poor quality image? How much information can one obtain from looking at this image? My point here is that media can display a poor quality image that is ambiguous and vague without being challenged by the viewer. Why is the picture so closely cropped? Understand that the closer the crop, the less information that can be attained by the viewer. Media uses this tactic so as to limit the viewer's perceptual depth. Picture number 2. This picture shows a sign that has been posted to keep swimmers away from the contaminated water. The sign reads, "Swimming Water Quality Status Health Advisory. The public is advised not to swim in these waters due to the presence of oil-related chemicals." This sign is basically warning swimmers of the health risk associated with swimming in oil-related chemicals. If oil-related chemicals are in the water, as the sign suggests, then wouldn't oil-related chemicals also be on the shore? Look closely at this picture. Do you see any oil on the shore? What we can see are some white bags littered about. These bags show no indication that they have been or are being used to clean up oil. In fact, these bags are perfectly white. How is it that these workers are wearing green gloves to pick up oil-related chemicals and are using these same gloves to handle these white plastic bags, and yet none of the bags have been stained by the oil-related chemicals that the workers supposedly have been picking up? The sign says the public is advised not to swim in these waters due to the presence of oil-related chemicals. The sign says nothing about the beach itself. Why would it be considered a health risk to swim in the water, but not a health risk to walk on oil-contaminated sand? Are we to believe that somehow it's a health risk to swim in contaminated beach water, but not a health risk to walk on, lay down on, and play in contaminated beach sand? Picture number 3. This is another picture of the alleged underwater oil spill. This picture is also of poor quality. This picture shows the oil spill as being more explosive. Time and day stamp is not legible. This picture is also closely cropped. Picture number 4. This picture shows what appears to be oil blobs that have been picked up off of a beach and placed into a plastic container. Notice that there is no water inside of the container, so we can logically deduce that the oil blobs were not collected from the water. In fact, if you look closely, you will see small grains of dry sand within the container. There are also small grains of dry sand on the alleged oil blobs. If these oil blobs were picked up from the beach, then why do we not see any other oil blobs in the background? Again, this picture is cropped very close so that the viewer cannot see for themselves whether or not there are any other oil blobs on the beach. The viewer, not able to decide for themselves, must therefore accept what media is telling them via belief. Picture number 5. This picture shows workers supposedly cleaning up oil off of a beach. The workers work in teams of 2, one shoveling while the other holds a plastic bag. The workers wear yellow boots to protect their feet from the contaminated sand. All of the workers have their heads covered. All of the workers are black/African American/Moorish. The worker in the foreground wears a shirt that has writing on it that reads GCP. The worker in the foreground is shoveling sand that is supposedly contaminated with oil. However, there is no visible evidence that the sand is contaminated. This picture does not provide any real evidence that oil has washed up on shore. Furthermore, there is no oil visible in the water. Picture number 6. This picture is very revealing. Here we have a woman who has taken off her golden slippers and has squatted down to touch contaminated sand. Again, she has taken off her golden slippers, has squatted down, and has placed her left hand into what is supposed to be oil. Remember the sign that we read earlier that warned swimmers of oil-related chemicals in the water? Recall that in that picture, there were no visible signs of oil. In this picture, we supposedly have visible signs of oil that has washed up to shore, and this woman has taken off her shoes, walked in the contaminated sand, and reaches down to touch the contaminated sand with her bare hands. She also takes a picture with her right hand. Notice that there are no visible signs of oil in the water. There also appears to be a child further down the shoreline walking about. If this beach is contaminated with hazardous oil-related chemicals, then why are people, children mind you, walking about in the contaminated area? Let me also state that the woman in the scene is not native to Florida.